Emotions are those feelings that gives our lives a roller coaster ride in terms of dopamine level and also act as a catalyst for intrinsic motivation. However, the same emotion can be a major force of inner destruction if not managed in a controlled way. It can lead to frustration, anger, anxiety, depression, and unfortunately certain irreversible acts. In a metaphorical manner, emotions act as a volcano that can create havoc and change the entire landscape. Today I have the privilege of hosting Mr. Subheer Ramnoruth, who will be talking to us about building emotional resilience. Subheer is a man of multiple talents. He is the Director of Academic Affairs at Whitefield Business School, a public speaker, a well-known corporate trainer, and the author of a truly inspiring book, The Guru and His CEO. Subheer, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to share your valuable insight about building emotional resilience.
Thank you, Krishna, for welcoming me on your podcast. And first of all, I must say that you and Hey Pumpkin and the whole team is doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
By sharing views about such an important topic, and I feel very honored and privileged to be on your podcast.
Thank you very much, Subheer. So, Subheer, please walk us through a little bit about this interesting topic, which is building emotional resilience.
Contrary to what a few people might think, that it's fighting back your emotions and all that, but emotional resilience is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about acknowledging them, but without letting these emotions rob you of your peace. Let me give you a little example. Let's picture a cyclone. We're in Mauritius, we know how cyclones are, right?
Definitely.
And the cyclones, it goes in circles and there's a lot of turmoil around it. But at the center, the eye is peaceful. So that's emotional resilience. You can be in turmoil as long as you're centered in peace. Whatever happens around you, you remain unaffected. Calm. And finding that center point of peace is what the journey of emotional resilience is all about.
Okay, interesting. So, Subheer, tell us, why do you think nowadays, especially in this hectic world and how the world has changed, why do we have to become emotionally resilient?
This world, you agree with me, this is a noisy place now. And it's getting very, very noisy.
It's getting noisier.
Noisier. You get triggers on your phone, like notifications on your phone. You need to perform, you need to look good, you need to speak well. People demand your time, people demand performance. You get a lot of emails, there are a lot of things in this world there are lots of opinions. Society wants you to conform and behave in a certain way. There are lots of things which is demanding a bit of your attention, a bit of your emotion, and these demands are actually triggers that are acting on you. And these triggers, if you leave them unchecked, they are like time bombs.
It will explode.
That will explode probably now or in the future, right? So that's why it's important to know how not to react, but to train the mind to know how to watch, observe, pause, decide, and then respond. It's not about, being unshakable. You will be shaken in this world, right? but being strong enough that you don't fall apart when you go through the turmoils of life. So building a strong foundation of emotional resilience helps you to secure your inner peace, secure relationship with others, because if you're in a bad mood all the time, you won't enjoy
Of course not.
a beautiful relationship with people.
You'll be in conflict every time.
Conflict. And if your mind is in turmoil, you probably can lose even your sense of purpose in life. So that's why emotional resilience is not a luxury, but it's a must.
It's a necessity
It's
in
a
today's world.
necessity, and more than a necessity, it's a toolkit for survival. But I would go one step further. Despite all the noise, if you're calm, emotional resilience is a tool for liberating you from, the grasp that the world is trying to put on you. It liberates you and allows you to be free, despite all the noise, all the demands, and all the pressures around you.
While you're talking, I'm still picturing the storm, how we can be calm, and you said something very beautiful at the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, is where the calmness lies. So we'll try to work on that, and hopefully people can try to relate to that particular example you've used, a very wonderful example you've used. Subheer, people work in a way that they need to have maybe certain models, certain frameworks, and the way you're talking, it's like you've mastered this area of emotional resilience. So is there any particular framework or models that you have developed or people can use to become emotionally resilient, or to have, let's say, a benchmark about their emotional resilience, like we can say it as an ERQ, emotional resilience quotient unit? Maybe you can tell us about something like that.
Yeah. So about having mastered emotional resilience, I would prefer to see myself as a student of emotional resilience. If you think you've mastered it, learning stops.
Okay.
Right? And the world is constantly changing and
Evolving.
right? So if you think you're here and it's good enough, then after a few years, a few months, you would say that you're not good enough.
So you come in a state
I see
of...
myself that, and I'm more of a student of emotional resilience. And yeah, we need tool. Definitely we need tool, and I can give you a very simple tool. One simple tool is, I call it bread.
Bread.
Bread. B-R-E-A-D.
No more bread. Okay.
Yes. And it's something that you can have daily. The bread and butter. So B starts with B. B stands for breathe. So when you're in a state of turmoil, right? Have you noticed that when you panic, your breath becomes shallow and fast, right? So when your emotion are in chaos, your breath is short and fast. So the first thing is oxygenate your brain. So you take deep, long breath, and automatically it sends the signal to your brain that, hey, things are better, right? Things are fine, because your emotion tend to obey and follow your breathing.
Okay.
So you start by B.
Breathing.
And then the second alphabet is R. R stands for reflect. You sit now, you start to reflect. What am I going through? Then you give it a name. Because if you don't know what you're going through, how can you manage it? So the concept is name it to tame it.
Name it to tame it.
Name it, give it a name. Once you know what you're dealing with, the management of the emotion, that process starts. So that stands for, R, B-R. Now E. E stands for embrace. You know this concept, don't think of you, you're thinking.
You have to accept.
So if you try to push it, you have to push it, it doesn't go, it's very stubborn. So the little hack here is to embrace it. Okay, I'm going through I'm having a
bad phase maybe.
Yeah, a worrying thought, you know, or I'm going through anxiety, right? I have an anxious thought. Doesn't make me an anxious person. I'm just acknowledging it, you know. Just understand this, that you are not your thoughts. You see, you walk on the streets and you see a vulgar poster. You would have a vulgar thought, isn't it? Right?
Could be.
It could be, most probably. And that doesn't make you a vulgar person, isn't it? So there's a difference between your thought and you. Yeah. Because what the senses consume, you usually can't control. Right? So that's about embracing the emotion. Okay, it's here. But detaching yourself. You are not that. You just notice that you have it. I'm having an anxious thought, but I'm not an anxious person. That situation is giving me an anxious thought, but I'm not suffering from anxiety. Because another situation on the football pitch, I'm very happy. You know, when I think of exams, probably that makes me anxious. I'm stressed, right? Some people doing a podcast, they might be stressed.
Like now,
no, we are quite good, right? Just an example. That's for BRE. Now, you know, A is very important. Now you're in this situation. A stands for alignment. You sit back now and you think, you know, what do I stand for? What's my values? How should I act, not react in this situation? So you align yourself. You reclaim your inner balance, because these situations tend to take you off balance. So you reclaim your inner balance, your line, right? And D, B-R-E-A, now D, the last part is, then you decide consciously. You make a decision as per the values, and then you move forward, you take the action that needs to be taken. So that's a little model that you can use, and it takes a few minutes only.
Now, when you're talking about that, every morning when I'm having a bread, I'll be thinking about this acronym, about how we can become more emotionally resilient.
And you can use that to set up your intention for the day as well.
Exactly. Interesting. A very simple model, but yet very profound examples that you gave about how we can become more emotionally resilient, despite, like you're saying, the noise, the turmoil in the environment. Also, Subheer, you know, unfortunately, we start doing something. You know, it's the human mechanism sometimes. We start doing something, we're very enthusiastic. So how we tend not to get into a state of complacency, or, okay, today I'm going to start what you said, and how to ensure consistency and also not falling into complacency about building emotional resilience.
How you ensure consistency? It's very simple, by being consistent.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because, for example, let's take the example of dieting. I know a lot of people diet. And on the dieting, you know, on the phase, like, I will eat well for 5 days and I have 2 cheat days.
2 cheat days.
So what you're telling your brain is that, you know, yeah, you're suffering. These days are the best days of your life. So you're sending the wrong message to the brain that this thing that is you're doing, which is actually good for you, it means in the unsubconscious you're telling yourself you're suffering. These are the best days, you know. So you should avoid that. So the secret to consistency is consistency. I'll give another example. There was it's a story from one of these scriptures. So someone went to a sage and asked him, you know, he was very generous. And whatever they would ask him, he would give. And they asked him something about, you know, one of his most precious stuff that he had, and he gave it off. And then that guy asked him, why do you do that? He said, I don't want to skip.
I don't want to skip.
I don't want to skip. Because if I skip one day, I can skip a second day, I can skip a third day. And I'm afraid of slipping, you know. So you see, you cheat one day, you cheat 2 days, you cheat 3 days. So I have a routine, for example, that I haven't missed for the past 10 years.
Wow.
Even one single day, including this morning. And the secret is I fear that if I skip one day, I'll skip a second day. So don't skip one day. So unfortunately, there's no shortcut to consistency. And the second thing is remind yourself of why. Why am I doing that? And if that why appeals to your core values, to your core calling, and you remind yourself that this thing is the very purpose of my life.
And maybe you have to remind yourself every day about this purpose.
Then it becomes difficult, to not do it, right? And thirdly is don't make it mechanical, ritualize it, make it sacred for you, this little thing. It could be 2 minutes in the morning, I'll sit down and I'll breathe consciously. Or I'll sit down and I'll write 5 lines in my journal. I will walk 10 minutes every day. Make that a sacred ritual, not a mechanical thing. So these little ideas will help to maintain consistency. And then walk with people, who've done it. Stay with people, hang around with people who've done it. Read about people who've done it to reinforce the belief, especially when you're on the decline.
Yeah.
You need to reinforce those inner muscles.
Okay, excellent. Another thing that keeps cropping into my mind when I was listening to you, and emotions, can we easily switch on the spectrum, because sometimes we can have some certain emotions, like we're happy, sometimes we are grumpy, sometimes we're afraid, like you said, fear, etc. But this emotion, sometimes we go to work, we have certain emotions, and we tend not to bring that emotion at home. And also, whatever is happening at home, we try not to bring it to the workplace. But it's easily said. I mean, maybe you can tell us a bit more about that. But how do we switch from one end to the other end? Because can we take that emotion that we had at work? Let's say we had a very hectic day at work, or a meeting that didn't go well, and at home we had, let's say, bees, we call it, and then bringing that emotion to work. So how can we switch? Please, can you explain?
What you said is a very true human experience that happen in everyday life. And unfortunately, emotion, they do not respect boundaries. What I mean is we can have a bad time here, and that emotion will not stay within these boundaries. It will stay with us and travel with us wherever we go.
It's going to diffuse.
It's going to diffuse in your house, in your relationship, in your work. So if something bad happens and it goes to work. So if it happens here and you move here, right, then that emotion which you had here will move with you
taking it
somewhere else. So that is the problem and that is the solution. So this, you had an issue in the workplace, right? And then you go home. What I'm trying to do is create a vacuum in between. So you had your bad day at work, and then before you enter your home, I call it the sacred quiet place. You create a little vacuum. Nothing can travel in your vacuum. So you sit down in your car, probably in a garage, and then you breathe and you calm yourself down. You do that consciously for 1 or 2 minutes. Secondly, then you set your intention consciously again with a lot of determination. What you want to be, how you want to act for the next few hours of the evening. Do you want to be distracted? Do you want to be present but still absent in the
physically
house,
present and mentally not here?
Or you want to come home as a loving father, fully present with your family. And then you walk into your house with that decision you made. Because Krishna, it's very important. You deserve peace. Right?
Of course.
of course, but people around you as well deserve peace.
Definitely.
And I think it's an obligation as a father, as a husband, as a son, or as an employee in the workplace, as a colleague, as a boss, that you manage your emotion, because that impacts others directly.
Yeah. And can also create a situation of conflict if you don't leave that emotion, like we said before, entering the workplace or your home. So we better leave it in that vacuum, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
Very nice, very nice. Subheer, there's also something that I really wanted to ask you is, if ever you become emotionally resilient, and it will take some time, we have to be consistent, but does it mean that we can manage the emotion of people around us in a much controlled manner? We can become more understanding about the emotion as well?
So let's understand the 4 pillars of being emotionally intelligent. So the first one, it's called the 4 pillars, but I see it more as an evolution. So the first one is self-awareness. So you first, to master anything, awareness precedes mastery, it is said. So first you have to become aware of your own emotions first. Then only can you master it, right? So the first step is self-awareness, and then the second step is self-regulation, they call it. So you understand your emotion, you're aware.
Then I regulate it.
Now I can regulate it. If I'm stressed, okay, I'm aware I'm stressed. Try to breathe, and I regulate it. That's the first phase of being emotionally intelligent. Now, when I'm in a better state, only then can I have what we call social awareness. I'm aware of how you're feeling, how we have the camera is feeling, how people are feeling everywhere. And then that's become social awareness. The 4th step, they call it social regulation, but I want to call it social influence, because you cannot regulate the people.
Of course.
But you can influence them to behave in a way you think it's better for them, right? So right now I think we're having a conversation, and what I'm saying to you are like waves impacting your understanding, and ultimately what you think is how you will ultimately feel, right? So I can always influence you to feel a certain way, but the decision is ultimately yours, whether you want to accept it or close your brain to it. So I can do my best to influence you, but I cannot really force you.
It's like
how you feel, because it's something that you decide and happens within you. But if my influence is strong enough, I think we can. And lately, I met quite a lot of CEOs. I met a few political leaders, and just being with them, and I've seen that in practice, that they start to talk to us about human potential, this shift from their usual business language to speak about great ideals, to speak about values, to speak about spirituality. And I think, yes, you definitely can do that. And that's one of the greatest service you can do to society and mankind.
You get respect for how you make people feel. Is that kind of influence we're talking about?
I don't know if you get the respect, but you do feel good when you make others feel good. And that's a very ancient wisdom. We all want to feel good, right? We all want to rise. But when you've truly helped someone, how do you feel?
Yeah, of course you'll be feeling good about it.
Feeling good. So we rise by lifting others. So I don't know if the respect will come, but I really do feel good about it.
Excellent, excellent. Another question, Subheer. It's like, talking about emotions. Very often, we see that people let others hack into their emotions. What's your thought about that, and how can we protect people, especially some people are vulnerable they can easily be influenced in a bad way, or they are said something and unfortunately they react in a wrong way. So how can we block that kind of emotional hacking?
Beautiful, beautiful question. Thank you for this. What you're saying is, I am the air conditioner, and I give the remote to someone else, and they get to play with
the temperature.
If they want to put 16 degrees, they just press the switch. And also, I've given them the permission to do
the green light.
The green light to do that. That's what you're telling me, that some people are in that state. Why some? At some point, we all become a victim of that, and that shouldn't happen. You know, what's slavery? You know, it's a thing that's been there in our history. What's slavery? I tell you to stand up, you stand up. I tell you to sit, you sit. You smile, you smile. I tell you to eat, you eat. Don't eat, don't eat. Dance, you dance, right? So that's slavery. Now, how do you call that? That I decide how your day will go today, will be today. My look will determine how you will feel. My words will determine whether your month or week will be good. Isn't that even worse state? That I get to decide for you how you would feel today?
Should not be the case.
It shouldn't be the case. So we all understand and agree now that this is happening, but it shouldn't be the case. To be very true to what I believe is that everything, you know, around us is permanent. When I say around us, I mean your hand wasn't the same length. Your hair, especially mine, wasn't the same way. It changes. Your face, your muscles, you know, your eyesight. Everything around you changes. You say, this is my iPad, this is my camera. But there is this I, who despite all these changes remains constant, unaffected, even when you don't know you exist. What I mean, when you're sleeping, you won't even know you're here. But this I dreamt of, it still exists even when you're not aware. What is this I, which is unshakable, unaffected, undisturbed, unperturbed, you know? You can find it in the depth of silence, and when you go deep within yourself. And if you're affected and shaky by everything that's happening outside, you're living on the surface. Go dig deep in the depth of your soul, and you will find who you truly are. And who you truly are is indestructible, invincible, unshaken. And you would feel a deep sense of peace. It's a journey of finding out who you truly are.
Oh. Subheer, that was wonderful what you just said, and these concept about building emotional resilience, the model that you gave, these are truly priceless words of wisdom that you just shared with us. And I would like to thank you very much for walking us through a little bit this concept. And thank you very much for coming to this video.
Thank you, Krishna. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Take care.